For just the third time in 10 years, number 1 will meet number 2 in the FCS National Championship. But for the first time this decade, we're doing bootleg.
Let's go.
Colby, that's Kyle. We're friends. And because we're friends, he can be honest with me. Scale of 1 to 10, how was my dad joke?
It was like a 5.
It's a classic decade dad joke, right?
Yeah.
Like Spey has the copyright, so maybe I should credit him.
Yeah.
Credit to Spey for my joke.
It wasn't higher because it wasn't like punny. You know what I mean? Like dad jokes always have the puns.
That's a good point. Yeah, you know what? I'll work on it. I'll workshop it. You would know better than me, so maybe if you just start making a list of dad jokes.
I haven't acquired those yet.
When does that kick in?
I don't know.
Do you just like wake up one day and you have all the jokes, or
I think so.
You have to make a running list, or
no? I think just one day they start coming to you, and then you can just rattle them off. I also haven't gotten the dad strength yet, although I think I know where that comes from.
Tell me.
You're just holding him at all times, and your arms are on fire.
Okay.
And then when you move him to the left side, he doesn't like it, or if you move him at all, it wakes up. So you just try to stay as still as possible.
Who needs a gym membership when you've got Hayden to lift all the time?
No, seriously.
On today's show, we will, of course, talk JMU, North Dakota State. Oklahoma lost by about 500 points after we did the previous show, so maybe we'll take a look at LSU's dominance, because that's what I'm going to credit LSU. OU's fine. I want to talk about LSU. Ahead of their Monday night national championship game, we've got the Tom Flacco joining us ahead of his appearance in the 2020 Tropical Bowl.
Heck yeah.
Do you feel like we're winging it a little bit today? Because I feel like we're kind of winging it, but then also we actually kind of have a rough plan.
No, I think we are winging it to a certain extent, but I also know that we both know what we're talking about and know what we want to say.
Forever.
So I feel good about it.
Okay. Well, I'm inspired by your confidence. I almost got myself into a little hot water with our Flow Sports legal team during the Peach Bowl.
Oh, no.
I'm an unnamed member of that team, made the assertion that the Big 12 should be relegated to the Group of 5 based on their propensity for losing in national semifinals. And I was rather triggered. I made a few comments on Facebook, but ultimately, cooler heads prevailed, a.k.a. I got sleepy and went to bed.
Well, it was a bizarre comment considering the fact that said conference of this person is a fan of a team in the Big Ten. Not a Big Ten team that has made the playoff.
Almost.
But also,
so close.
Yes.
So many times.
But also the Big Ten didn't score in the playoff until Ohio State did it this year since like 2015.
Wow, that's a good stat.
Yeah.
And you weren't
they weren't in it for a few years, and Ohio State got shut out by Clemson the last time they played.
That's rough.
So you could have argued that in his mind, the Big Ten should have been relegated.
Well, I did a little research.
It's silly.
There's this thing called the Bowl Challenge Cup. Okay. The SEC won it this year. They went 7-2. Just a phenomenal year for that league. Really nice to see it. You know, you like to see the underdog come out on top every once in a while. The two most dominant leagues in the Bowl Challenge Cup are the Mountain West and Conference USA. So,
yeah.
What are you supposed to take away from that? The Big 12
helpful.
was terrible. There's no doubt about it. Oklahoma got drilled by LSU. Baylor didn't ever really look like they had a chance against Georgia. No. Mike Gundy forgot that Chuba Hubbard was on his team for a very large stretch of that game against A&M, a game that looked like OSU should have won, and on and on. But it's so easy to take the bowl results from one year and just apply some sort of finality to that. Like that's because all you do is you take a 1 year sample size, and whatever happens that matches your opinion on things, you just use that.
Yeah.
Well, that team lost. So when Texas beats Utah, what is that? Should we relegate the Pac-12 too? And now we don't have a group of 5 anymore. That was my thing. Like how many teams? The number 5 would imply that there are 5 leagues in the Power 5. So if you get rid of the Big 12 and the Pac-12 because they suck, who's getting promoted?
Right.
And are you really going to tell me that the American is better than the Big 12?
Yeah, dude. Do you see them get blown out in the playoff? I kid.
So, yes, to make my actual point here, a year ago, Oklahoma lost a relatively tight semifinal to Alabama. The Big 12 went 4-3. Texas was back, you recall.
Yes, I do.
The year before that, the Big 12, 5-3. Two of those losses were West Virginia and Oklahoma are bad. But that Oklahoma team that lost year before last to Georgia, stupid good. Baker Mayfield, ridiculous season, Heisman Trophy winner. Dominated Georgia for about 29 minutes of that game before caving down the stretch. Georgia comes back, 17 points down, scores 14 unanswered in the third. They go to the national championship. They have a big lead. They should win. They lose to Alabama. What I'm saying is that Oklahoma team, am I supposed to apologize because Oklahoma lost to a really good Georgia team that should have won a national title, lost to an Alabama team that was loaded? Like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Yeah, no, it's really dumb. We talked about this yesterday, and the college football playoff, while awesome and obviously the right move, has also just, like, diminished what used to be great seasons.
Yeah.
So, Oklahoma finished in the top 10 this year. They won their 5th straight Big 12 championship.
Yes, they did.
They won 12 games, right?
4 trips to the playoff in 5 years,
Yeah.
12 wins, 4 Heisman Trophy finalists in 3 years.
And we're looking at the program like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
We need to relegate it.
Yep.
That's silly.
I would agree.
That's silly. It's one of the it's right behind Alabama and Clemson as the elite college football program right now, and it's only behind them because they haven't beaten one of those two to win a national title. But they're taking up. They're almost like before the season starts. You're like, yeah, he's going to the playoff.
I mean, it just so happens that Alabama and Clemson are in the middle of, or I guess in Alabama's case, probably near the end of, but all-time dynasties.
As long as Nick Saban's there, I don't think it's anywhere near being done. But
well, yeah, I mean, how many years has he been there, right? Like,
I know.
So all I'm saying is, like, when I say near the end, I mean nearer to the end than to the beginning.
Facts.
That's all.
No, that's facts. Okay.
Nick's still the man. Yeah. So all the things that you said. Again, 4 trips to the college football playoff in 5 years. I'm not going to be sorry about that.
No.
Basically, reserved seating at the Heisman Trophy ceremony for at least one, sometimes 2 people. And look, it wasn't even supposed to be a great year for Oklahoma. It was supposed to be a transitional year as they move from Kyler F. Murray to a 5-star freshman quarterback. And it just so happened that Jalen Hurts decided to spend a year in Oklahoma. And when he did, it changed things, and OU became a contender for a little bit, well, for the entire season. But Jalen looked awesome for quite a while, and Oklahoma, as a result of that, was very, very good and didn't have to do a transitional year. I mean, this was supposed to be like a 9-3 season, and instead they go 12-1 in the regular season. I'm not sorry.
No, you shouldn't be sorry.
Also, how are things going in Ann Arbor? Anyway, moving right along, Mike McCarthy.
Congratulations.
I got to get this in early. I need your opinion on this.
I think it's absolutely an upgrade from Jason Garrett, and I know you'll probably say, well, that's not hard to do. But no,
I would say anything better than average.
I would say Mark McCarthy's better than average. And I think he will be a really good change for the first few seasons. And I think you need to get your winning in the first few seasons. Unless he just, like, learned all these lessons in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. And, Coach O is really famous for his failure at Ole Miss. And he took everything that he did at Ole Miss and he wrote it down. And he's like, okay, I'm learning from that.
You would find a way to work Coach O into a conversation about the Cowboys.
I'm just trying to, like, can he do that? Can he take all the things that went wrong in Green Bay and do what needs to be done to correct that and get back to the coach that had the Packers going to the Super Bowl and playing in conference championships games and not losing at home to the Cardinals? That was the last straw. That was what got him fired. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field with not Kyler F. Murray at quarterback. I don't even know who the quarterback was. It wasn't Josh Rosen.
It's like Matt Leinart. I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay, that's fair. Would you say that he was the best available coach?
No, probably not.
No? Who was better?
I would argue that Lincoln Riley was.
Oh yeah.
Is he available?
Was he available?
Does he count as available?
Let's put it this way: of the guys who've been hired to fill voids, was he the best available?
I'd probably take Ron Rivera over him.
Damn it, Kyle. Okay.
But I also have this really bad taste in my mouth where I wanted McCarthy out the last 3 years he was in Green Bay.
I know this well.
Even the 1 year they made the playoffs, nothing changed on offense. It looked like we ran the same 7 plays, and I don't know. I know Aaron Rodgers is obviously not the best person to work with, maybe not the most coachable person, but he didn't do anything to try to help that relationship.
Yeah.
And when you have one of the best quarterbacks on the planet, like, you need to. And you need to hear his input and do things that he's comfortable in and all that stuff. And he just didn't do that. He was very rigid and stuck in his ways and it's not flexible. Nothing changed. And we're so predictable and things just got stale. That's why I'm saying need to win now. And you have the team to win now.
Do have the team to win now. I wonder if that wasn't because you look at the Cowboys. I mean, they interview Marvin Lewis. Like, we all know in retrospect why.
Yeah. And
then they interview McCarthy, and then they make the hire. No other interviews.
Apparently there was a sleepover involved.
What do you think goes down in a Jerry Jones sleepover?
I don't know. And then he wouldn't let him leave.
Also a little weird.
But apparently the Panthers did that with Matt Rule too. Like, he was supposed to go interview with the Giants, and they're like, no, you're not leaving.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think you just have to kidnap the coach you want now.
Well, I mean, that's how the Clippers got DeAndre Jordan back from the Mavs.
Right.
So maybe they just took a page out of Doc Rivers' book and thought that's how we should go about hiring our head coach.
I don't know what goes on. I feel like there's probably a lot of drinking.
With Jerry. I think a sleepover with Jerry would have been cooler like 10 years ago.
Yeah. I
think it might be losing its.
Did you see McCarthy just like admitted he straight up lied to him? He was I told Jerry I watched every snap from the 2019 season. He's like, but I wanted the job. He's like, now that I got now that I got the job, like, I didn't watch every snap.
Yeah, and that's why Jerry looked pissed off in the press conference, maybe.
He also said Dez didn't catch it.
Well, he didn't technically catch it. He said it was a phenomenal athletic play, and that at the time, he says
it would be a catch now.
It was a catch.
Yeah.
At the time, technically,
yeah,
not a catch. It's okay. Steven got that rule changed.
That's true.
So we're fine now.
That's true.
So next time we go to Lambeau with McCarthy on our sideline, everything will be different.
I would really enjoy that.
Here's what I like about McCarthy. I've read a couple of things. First of all, like his ability to communicate with and inspire a team. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's a thing, which after a decade of watching monotone coach speak and clapping, somebody who has like a human trait to them would be pretty cool.
I think you'll see the players relate to him more. I know there were like clips of players running off the field, and Jason Garrett was trying to like high five them, and they just ran right by him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to get tired of the high five after a while. Like, Jason Garrett is like the dude that you stand next to at a sporting event.
Yeah.
That wants to high five after every first down or every made basket, and by like the 10-minute mark, you're like, I'm not high fiving you anymore, and you end up actually turning away every time something good happens, so you won't have to high five him. But then when you turn back, he's right there.
You should only have to. I know exactly what people you're talking about at sporting events, and you don't know them when you go there.
No, they don't. You don't know them at all.
That
They're
should only be
random guy.
That high five should only be for touchdowns.
Yeah.
And like big turnovers.
Agreed. And not even all touchdowns.
Right.
Like. I would say, like, once you're up, like, there's got to be, like, a mercy rule that goes into effect. Like, I'm not high-fiving you after we're up by 30.
Right.
I'm just not doing it. Or if we're down by 30.
Yeah.
No high fives.
No.
I think we should probably put out a rule book on this because a lot of adult males are having a really hard time figuring out when to high five. Jason Garrett is one of them.
Well, I saw Devontae Adams tweet out, like, he called him Big Mike. Happy for Big Mike. Like, he's a good dude. So I think he'll definitely command more respect in the locker room. Okay,
I'm with that. I'm also with the fact that under McCarthy, the Packers were at the bottom of the league on first down rushes. And the Cowboys, under Garrett, have always been at the top. Mm-hmm. And I'm really kind of excited about not having to watch the Cowboys just pound Zeke into a 7-man front on first down, no matter what, even if there's a fire. Like, maybe let's go play action. Maybe, you know what? Maybe let's just come out in, like, 10 personnel and throw that thing on first down.
It will be interesting to see because McCarthy never really had a great running back in Green Bay. Eddie Lacy was the best one. He had 2,000-yard seasons, and then he got too fat. But I mean, that was that was 2 years. You know.
Yeah.
He didn't have somebody, and even Eddie Lacy wasn't like Zeke Elliott. Eddie was just the guy you gave the ball like 30 times, and he would eventually just like wear people down.
Yeah. What did you think about the McCarthy project? I mean, he just locked himself in a barn for a year with all of his old coaching friends.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
People are like, oh, now he understands offense. Again.
It's pretty bizarre. It's weird.
He shouted out PFF and Collinsworth in the press conference too for like teaching him analytics.
Hey, now you got an analytics guy.
I am not sitting here talking shit. I'm excited.
I know.
Like math is a thing that like maybe we should use to our advantage.
And the Jason Garrett was very openly against it. Not against it, just like we don't need it. So, it is good that they are getting into the 2020s.
I agree. It's a new decade.
Getting with the times.
New decade, new Cowboys, new me, new Mike McCarthy.
New Mike McCarthy. He should lose a bunch of weight now.
Man, we're going to have to edit all your fat jokes out.
Why? What? Eddie Lacy loved China food. He called it China food. Do you realize that?
No, I did not realize that.
He would like tweet. He'd be like, man, I really want some China food right now.
Hey, don't knock China food. I like China food. Okay, that's enough about McCarthy and the Cowboys, although I am really excited that we moved the Cowboy NFL segment up earlier in the show. Usually it's a throw-in at the end.
Look at all these China food tweets.
Oh, my God. Please screenshot that so we can put it in the show. All right. It's that time again. You know what time it is, Kyle?
Is it colonial time?
It is, in fact, colonial time.
This is the biggest colonial time of all time.
The biggest colonial time of all time in the history of football and mankind. Mm-hmm. It's happening right now. It's our last colonial time of the year, more than likely. I'm pretty sure, definitely going to be the last football colonial time of the year. But hey, a little cross-vertical promotion here. There will be a basketball version of colonial time coming from now through...
Wait, what?
Yep, through not through the end of March, into March.
Okay.
Into the madness of March, you could even say. So look for that on FloHoops.tv or .com. I don't know which one it is.
I think it's .com.
I just manage it. It's not that big of a deal.
.com.
.com?
.com.
Confirmed. FloHoops.com. Colonial Time will be there now. But this is a FloFootball show. This is bootleg. This is football. And we're talking football. But for the first part of the show, I want to acknowledge that it is a sneaky big week and like a legit big week for the CAA. It's a legit big week for all the reasons that we already know. JMU playing for a national title.
Correct.
It is a sneaky big week because Tom Flacco and others from the CAA are playing in all-star games across the world, mostly in the United States, perhaps all in the United States, but not important. Is Florida technically part of the United States?
No, definitely not.
Okay, so across the globe.
Yeah.
CAA football players will be competing in all-star games, and our man, Tom Flacco, carefully selected the Tropical Bowl in DeLand, Florida, because it will be live on FloFootball. And Tom loves Flo so much that he hand-selected that event. And you know what? We had the opportunity to talk to him about it a little bit, as well as the way the year ended with Towson. And he even provided a little look ahead into the JMU North Dakota State matchup through the quarterback lens, what you can expect from that JMU defense. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking, and Tom's going to start talking. So what's been going on? What'd y'all do for the holidays?
I just spent time with the family, my family and my girlfriend's family. So it was awesome seeing my grandparents and everything.
Yeah. Nice, man.
Yeah. How about you? Same old stuff, seeing family?
Yeah, same deal. We, my wife and I alternate years with the family. So I had, a year ago we went to my parents. This year we hosted my in-laws. So,
cool.
Just in case they were to watch this, I just want them to know that it was wonderful and I enjoyed every moment of it.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, look, man, I don't want to make this longer than it necessarily needs to be. I know you got a lot going on right now, but I wanted to touch base with you. Obviously, after we got to go out there and meet you guys and do what we did while y'all were in training camp. You got fans out of all of us. Our entire team at Flo. We pull for you guys all year long. Love to get to know you and Shane and Coach and everybody else. And obviously none of us like the way that it ended, but you and I haven't talked about it yet. So how would you characterize the season? Injuries, obviously, to some really key guys kind of turned things a bit. But take me inside a little bit and just tell me what you took from, I guess, not just this year, but your 2 years at Towson, as a whole, once you're able to step back and kind of look at it after the fact.
Well, it was an abrupt end. It was an unfortunate end. It was definitely disappointing for everyone at Towson. So, I mean, I explained, you said it, there's definitely injuries that plagued our team, but that really wasn't it. Our team did a good job. Guys stepped in and they stepped up and they played well, but we kind of just, I think against that Elon game, maybe our guys were a little bit, we jumped out to a 14-0 lead, I think that kind of, we got content. And Elon, they're not a bad team. They have a great quarterback, and they stuck around and they ended up beating us at the end. So it was a tough loss, and like I said, it was an abrupt finish. But I liked how our guys persevered. I mean, we were tested throughout the whole season. We had a run there at the end, just didn't finish the way we wanted to. And my 2 years at Towson were great. I mean, I had two different offensive coordinators, in Jared and Rob, who's the head coach, Rob, and they're both great guys. I was able to pick their brains, and Coach Van Zyl picked things from him. And something that I did my whole college career, I was my sixth offensive coordinator and my sixth or seventh quarterback coach. So I was able to pick up people a lot of brains, and take things from everyone. And it was another great learning lesson for me. But as a college player, my player development was great. And I think that's something that's going to be an advantage going forward.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Clearly, your team flow for life, man. I mean, as made evident by your decision to play in the Tropical Bowl, you just, you played every one of your senior year, every one of your games on Flo, and then you just couldn't move forward with your football career without playing one more game on FloFootball, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I saw you guys were hosting the game. I'm like, that makes sense. All my family already has your subscription. They'll be fine.
There you go. Shocking as this is, no one ever asked me to play in a college all-star event. So tell me, what was the process of choosing the Tropical Bowl? In all seriousness, how did the entire process play out for you to ultimately decide to head to Daytona Beach?
I had known about the Tropical Bowl through Devlin Hodges was there last year, and he's a 1AA guy who I was following last year, wondering what he was doing, what his track was. So it was on my radar because of him, because he's a 1AA, simply because he's a 1AA guy who's not only been playing in the league, he got a chance to play, not just be on a team, So I knew about it then, and then as I was trying to find an agent, he mentioned the Tropical Bowl, and I was like, that'd be awesome, if I can get into that. And that's what happened. He told me about 2 weeks ago. I think he confirmed it, or a week ago, not too long ago. He confirmed that I was in it, and I was excited.
Yeah, you mentioned Duck. Obviously, he played in the event last year. The year before that, I think it was Danny Etling and Montel Cozart. I mean, there's been some guys that have used the Tropical Bowl as a kind of a launching pad into an NFL career. Obviously, varying in terms of playing time, but Duck obviously getting a lot of time with Pittsburgh this year. What are some of the biggest things that you want to demonstrate for the scouts that are in attendance, over the course of the next few days? That you're able to bring to the table for them as a football player and a quarterback?
I kind of just want to show scouts and NFL teams that I can operate an NFL offense. I think that watching the film, you're going to be able to you see me sitting in the pocket and throwing. But I think sometimes when you're labeled as an athletic person or an athlete or a guy who can run, they don't really see you running the offense. They see you as someone who's going to kind of make plays when things are broken down. And I think that's time to do that. I think it's go out there. It's different than seeing it on film. You can see someone in person. You can see the ball come out of his hand. And you're like, okay, this guy can sling it,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to getting down there and showing him how I can throw the ball and how I can basically just operate an NFL offense. It doesn't matter what scheme I'm in. I can do it. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, no question. I know probably for the entirety of your career, but I know, obviously at Towson being basically in Baltimore, we've talked about this before. People want to default to you're Joe's brother. Tell us what that's like or whatever. And, obviously I've always avoided doing that. But in this scenario, you obviously, aiming to play in the NFL where Joe has enjoyed a really nice career. My question is simply, are there things that you can take being someone who's watched a sibling in that environment on an NFL roster and what it means to be a pro? I think for a lot of rookies coming in, the adjustment from college to the NFL is a lot. It's abrupt, it's stark. But for you, having been exposed to that for the better part of a decade. I just wonder if, through your lens, what you think that allows you to do in terms of the quicker adjustment to the pro game.
I think it would be a quick adjustment. I really do. I mean, I've been around an NFL type quarterback, and not an NFL type, an NFL quarterback pretty much for the last 13 years. And that was when I was little. So I grew up just really watching an NFL type, games and breaking down things with my family that was NFL. So I think that I was throwing an NFL ball when I was 13, 14, better than I was throwing those high school balls they throw around. So I think that's just something that being around an NFL family like that, it's going to be a great advantage. I know the ins and outs a little bit, not that I know them, but I'm familiar with them a little bit. And like I said, it's just that I've been around that quality type of mentality my whole life, and those are my expectations my whole life. So I think that's something that will prove to be an advantage, but hopefully I get the opportunity to prove that to teams.
Definitely. One of the things that people love to do so much with a, college guy headed to the NFL is find the comp. Who looks like you, who plays like you, who throws like you, who runs like you. What can we do to give ourselves an idea of what you're going to be? And in some ways, I hate the comp because you're never gonna line that up perfectly. And everybody who's, at that 6 foot mark has been Drew Brees now for 15 years. But, what I would say is, and listen, you're not a short dude at all, 6'1", but even just 4 or 5 years ago, being 6'1", could have been a bit of an impediment just because everybody's looking for that prototypical 6'4", 6'5" guy. But now, like I said with Breeze, but then, Russell Wilson comes in, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray go back-to-back at number 1. And Kyler, definitely not even close to being 6'1", not even close to your height. What's your take on the height bias in general, and how how that affects you? I guess is what I'm getting at.
Hey, I'm not tall, but I'm tall enough, and I think that's been proven. But also, this is the best time to be a guy who's 6 foot, 6'1". This is definitely the best environment. Like you said, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, when I was coming out of high school, people were, Johnny Manziel was one of the guys coming, but even he got picked in the first round, but he didn't pan out. But it's just, I don't think there's such a thing anymore. We're playing in a shotgun type NFL. Everyone's in the shotgun. They're taking 3-step, 5 steps from the gun. They're not taking those 7-step drops from under center. And it's not that they're not doing it; they're just doing it less. So I've watched film on Russell Wilson. I've seen what he does and how he plays, and he's a great player. And I've watched film on Drew Brees because we have those things that is at our advantage as college athletes. You can watch them play. And it's just cool seeing what they do, what their offenses do. And I think that the height thing is pretty much gone. I really do. Because if you look at the last 2 number 1 draft picks, they're smaller guys who can kind of have similar attributes. And you have to be able to run. You have to be able to run a little bit now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I do look. Like I said, I hate the comps, but you can draw some lines of comparison between you and a guy like Baker, or even you and a guy like Kyler. On some of the stuff, the way that you play, some of the different things that a team can do with you. Something I thought of earlier today when before we did this, I wonder your perspective on this. Let's say that, an NFL team looks at you and they look at your skill set and your athleticism, and obviously you're a 2-sport guy, and can't say enough about what you're able to do aside from throwing a football. Say a team comes to you and they say, we want you to be our Taysom Hill. We want you to be a guy who, you're going to play some quarterback, but we're also going to put you in the backfield at running back. We're also going to split you out wide and, throw you the ball every once. What's your special teams, whatever. Somebody comes to you with that perspective on, I know every quarterback is different, and some guys are, Tim Tebow as an example, I'm a quarterback. What's your perspective on that?
I'm open to that. I really am. Whatever can get me on the field and get me into the league, I'm open to do that. If they want me to be someone kind of like Taysom Hill, he does everything. I'll do that. No problem. I'll do whatever they ask me to do. I think the long term of playing in the NFL, long term, I see myself as a quarterback, just because those guys can last longer, quarterbacks. But if that gets me into the door, man, I'm open to anything. Really, I really am. So I'm going to go through this process as a quarterback because that's honestly what impacts the team the most, a quarterback. And that was something completely different in college. In college, I did not want to do that. I want to be a quarterback. But in the NFL, that gets me into it, then that's what I'll be willing to do. Yeah, without doubt.
Yeah, I love that. Look at a guy like Taysom too. He's doing a lot right now, but who's to say that when Drew's done, Taysom doesn't take over with the Saints? I don't know that anybody can know that. All I do know is that when he's on the field, he's making plays.
Yeah, and I bet he sees himself as a quarterback at long term. Right now, I think he's doing awesome. I mean, he's the reason why they scored most of their points. But I'm sure I never talked to Taysom Hill, but I mean, I'm sure he's looking forward to getting a chance to play quarterback at some point.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. The quarterback thing is kind of a DNA thing. It's like not even a position; it's literally who you guys are. So I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have you in the Tropical Bowl this weekend. Some other games of note are happening this weekend. FBS title game on Monday. FCS title game on Saturday as college football winds down, comes to an end. I want to ask you about the FCS title game simply because you know JMU better than most. That defense obviously very highly touted. There's a lot of dudes that have NFL potential. A lot of hype surrounding that defense in general. I don't want you to give away a scouting report to North Dakota State because we're pro CAA at Flo, but I would just ask you to give me your perspective from the mind of a quarterback when you're looking at JMU. What do you do with that defense? How do you attack that?
Man, their defense is good, and what you have to do, that defensive line, they'll get after you, so you can't be holding the ball long. You have to get rid of it. I think that's something that North Dakota State. I've watched film with them a little bit because like Delaware played them maybe the last couple of years, and their offensive line is really good. And but that's what I'm going to be watching on Saturday. I'm going to be watching that matchup between offensive line and the defensive line of JMU because they got after us and they got after everybody in the CAA, so they have to get rid of the ball. And I would say just don't get behind on those guys. You have to keep a lead because if you get behind, that defense will be you'll start doing things that's uncharacteristic of your offense, so you need to be able to stick with everything and be balanced.
Yeah, in a perfect world, not falling behind against that team is a little easier said than done. But
I know it's easy to say, but I mean, like I said, it'll be interesting to see the matchup of their defensive line versus North Dakota State's, who's a very physical offensive line, and their tight ends are big guys. That's a great matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that'll be cool. I'm also looking forward to watching you play in the Tropical Bowl, though, man. I mean, you're one of my favorite guys to cover. You're one of my favorite quarterbacks in the country, regardless, FBS, FCS, NFL, I don't care. I think the sky's the limit for you. I think you have a great future at the next level, and I can't wait to watch and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, man, I appreciate everything. You guys were following me around all year, and I love you guys.
Now we sound like stalkers.
Yeah, no, here's my little nephew. You want to get him on the clip?
Oh yeah, Thomas. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hop in. Let's spread the wealth all across the Flacco family. I love it.
He's hearing me talk to someone. He's like, "Who's this?"
All right, Tom. Well, hey man, best of luck at the Tropical Bowl, and let's stay in touch. I look forward to talking to you down the road. Once again, thank you to Tom Flacco. I said he's one of my favorite guys to watch in college football, and I meant that. He's electric, and he entertained us on multiple occasions this season. In the inaugural year of Colonial Athletic Association football on Flo. One of the things that he pointed out that I thought was, if nothing else, just at least a little bit interesting was the fact that he said, and I obviously now we can transition into the JMU North Dakota State discussion if you want to, but he said that when you're playing JMU, the key is to get a lead on them or prevent them from getting a lead on you early, because once James Madison gets up, especially if they get up by 9 or more.
Oh yeah.
Kind of at that point that it's forcing you to throw the football around. With Towson led early, but then JMU started to come back, got up, extended that lead, and once they did, they knew Tom was going to be throwing the ball every down, and right. Rondell Carter, John Daka pin their ears back, get after the quarterback. So I thought it was interesting that he pointed that out, having been in that situation himself, as a way that North Dakota State could avoid the terror that is that JMU defensive line. The Dukes opened as a 1.5-point favorite. First time since 2016 that North Dakota State is catching points in a game.
Dang.
Would you like to know who they were playing in 2016 when they were underdogs?
Was it an FBS team?
It was.
Was it Iowa?
It was. Number 13, Iowa. Do you know how that game ended?
They won.
North Dakota State upset Iowa at Iowa. So they're not going to be worried about the fact that they opened as underdogs. You pointed out a moment ago that it's actually a pick'em now.
It's a pick'em now on one offshore site.
Okay. One offshore
free
site.
ads.
Is that like secret? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no free ads.
Look, North Dakota State wants to run the football. That's not really a secret.
Nope.
Trey Lance he's a bad man. and that running game has been really good all year. But I would also just point out that they're typically in a position to run the football. They typically have a lead. They have not had to play from behind.
Yep.
So I think it's a situation where if JMU can hit them in the mouth early, and look, obviously it's a bit of a delicate balance because you don't want to be overly aggressive and play out of character and do things that you haven't done all season long just because you're dying to get a lead early.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if JMU can come out hot, that will put a lot of pressure on North Dakota State.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at what JMU does on offense, as well as they run the ball. Now, we were just talking before the show. They have 6 guys that have run for over 200 yards this year, including quarterback Ben DiNucci. But they also throw it really well. They have a 1,000-yard receiver in Brandon Polk. Riley Stapleton has like another 700 yards. So they can spread you. They spread you out with this power run game, and then DiNucci can beat you with his feet too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. It is their toughest test. Probably, I don't know. Is North Dakota State better than West Virginia? I don't know. But since week 1, this is the biggest test they've faced on either side of the ball. And a couple of things that I found really interesting is JMU's only given up 100 yards rushing one time this year, and it was to Stony Brook. And then they also, JMU, 9 times this year had 9 or more tackles for loss. That is insane.
Yep.
That is insane. So if that defensive line and those linebackers can live in the backfield and force North Dakota State into passing downs, then that is where they can really win this game. Because we saw it in the Illinois State game when Illinois State forced NDSU to throw the ball more. They really struggled. They couldn't find the end zone. And then for NDSU, they've only turned the ball over 6 times this year.
I know. You're stealing all my great points, by the way.
I'm sorry. I did not know any. This is why we should compare notes for a show. But only two of them were in week 1. They're week 1 blowout of Butler. That's insane.
I know it.
So, and that just means JMU has to be even more careful with the ball because you do not want to give them any extra possessions or set them up in great field position.
Agreed. And, JMU they've been good with turnovers, too.
Oh,
6 is crazy. JMU,
insane.
15 turnovers is really good.
That's very low, too, yeah.
A couple of points that I want to make, just piggybacking kind of on what you already said. I think, first of all, I think that the West Virginia North Dakota State comp is pretty legit. I think that those two teams are probably pretty close in talent level and coaching. And that JMU team that lost to West Virginia is not the same JMU team that is going to Frisco right now. They have improved week to week throughout the season, which is an absolute testament to Cignetti and that staff and what they've done. He made the point that coming out of spring football, everybody was anointing James Madison, as number 2 right behind NDSU in the rankings, and he didn't see his team that way coming out of the spring. But after fall camp, there was more confidence. After week 1, there was more confidence. And from week to week, they have grown exponentially as a team. You mentioned the need to get into the backfield. It's not impossible to get into that North Dakota State backfield. I mean, you mentioned Illinois State. Missouri State was able to make some plays behind the line of scrimmage as well. And neither one of those teams has got a front like what James Madison has.
Sure.
So I think that there's definitely a path to disrupting that North Dakota State offense, given how talented James Madison is on defense. And the last thing I do wanted to point out, I think we need to give Ben DiNucci proper credit, because there was a lot of conversation last year that was critical of him, his propensity to turn the football over. We've made jokes about, random picks in the end zone or whatever it is. It's a guy that has done a complete 180 year over year, completing 71% of his throws, almost 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, and he's only thrown the 5 picks.
Right.
So I think that there's a tendency to look at what DiNucci was a year ago and just associate that with his performance from this year. But there's a reason he's a CAA Offensive Player of the Year, and there's a reason that his team is in Frisco, and it's not just the defense. It's not just the running game. It's his ability to keep them balanced on offense and keep defenses honest. So I do want to shout out the year that he's had.
Absolutely.
And I think he'll obviously, it goes without saying, but he will play a pivotal role in determining the outcome of that game on Saturday. Do you have a prediction?
I do. I think JMU, with all the weapons they have, I think JMU's skill players are better than North Dakota State's. The four-headed monster running back, and then Polk and Stapleton at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I like them to find the end zone a couple times. I have 17-10 JMU.
Nice. We mostly agree on that. Clearly it's colonial time. It's not Valley time. But we probably didn't give North Dakota State's defense enough time and credit here, but they're also very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a low-scoring slugfest, much like you described. Honestly, man, I think the first team to 14 can win.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
If I got to make a pick, I'm going to say Duke's 13-10, 14-13, something like that. I think it's going to be a classic. I think it's going to go down to the wire. And ultimately, I think it's going to be that JMU defense on the field at the end with the season on them. It's going to be their job to win it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. It's going to be awesome.
I don't think they'd want it any other way.
Nah, that's exactly how you want it.
Spend some time in Harrisonburg and with a bunch of those defensive players. They like that. That's what they want.
Yep, that's their demeanor, their personality, their swagger. I mean, it's very apparent when you're around them, and I think that they're going to bring it. So it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. We've enjoyed watching JMU and really the entire league all season long. And this is a really good capper for us in year one for a team from this league to be in Frisco with the opportunity to, disrupt the dynasty that everybody's been watching up in Fargo. They've already disrupted it once.
Right.
So.
They've been the only team to break in, and they did it in the Fargo Dome when they won in 2016. So.
Yep. Okay, last thing I do want to touch on, he's kind of skimmed over it. Tom Prince Smith from New Hampshire. There's some other guys from the CAA that are playing in the Tropical Bowl. I'm singling the Tropical Bowl out because I'm selfish and it's on Flo, and I think people should watch it. That's my opinion. What's yours?
No, I totally agree. Really impressed with the talent that's there this year, especially at quarterback. Tom Flacco, Justin McMillan, Alec Hornibrook, Wisconsin and Florida State guy. Even all the way down to a guy like Quentin Maxwell from IUP, who was originally at Ohio.
Yep.
And then Nathan O'Rourke is setting all kinds of records there. So he transferred to IUP and then had an awesome year with over 40 touchdowns. So it's a really impressive group that will be there. And it's a great test for Tom going up against a bunch of FBS guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I know he's played against FBS teams before. He went down to the Swamp this year. And if you watched the HBO college football, kind of like the season, or the Hard Knocks version, the week they spent with Florida was when they played Towson.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and they were talking about Flacco, and then they have all kinds of game highlights. And Dan Mullen was heated at halftime.
Oh,
because they were just going up and down the field on him.
Yeah.
They had a couple. They missed a field goal, and they had a couple kind of fluky turnovers. There was like a fumbled snap and stuff, but they were in Florida territory, and Mullen was not too happy.
Well, hey, look, man, Tom is Towson in general. I mean, Towson was a team that coming into the year we thought would contend with JMU for the CAA title, and not just the CAA, but a national title. They looked that good. When you lose a guy like Shane Simpson, obviously it completely changes the trajectory of your season. And it wasn't just Shane. I mean, they had a rash of injuries that changed things for them. But Towson was no fluke. Tom Flacco was no fluke.
No,
I mean, that kid is super talented. I think that I think it's safe to say he has an NFL future of some kind. What that looks like exactly is yet to be determined. The Tropical Bowl is an excellent opportunity and stage for a lot of these guys. Tom mentioned Duck Hodges as being a guy that he looked at and saw another FCS guy that had gone and played in that event, kind of put his name on the map. Danny Etling, obviously an LSU, not FCS guy, but he did the same thing the year before that, ends up with the Patriots. I think there's definitely an avenue for a player like Flacco to find his way to the NFL. His exposure to the NFL to this point can't hurt. I mean, he knows how to be a professional. He's seen it done. And lastly, I would just say I think that, I hit him half jokingly, but he responded pretty earnestly about his willingness to play the type of role that Taysom Hill plays. And I think just given his overall athleticism and his football IQ, I mean, there's also the possibility of a situation like that with an NFL team. So, while he's competing at this event as a quarterback, his athleticism has been on display more than one.
Well, that's a great point you bring up, because I was going to mention, kind of the way the NFL is trending now. He has a better opportunity than in years past, because he's not like Tom, or he's not like Joe. He can beat you with his legs. He's a very good runner.
Yep.
So guys like Josh Allen, and then obviously he's not Lamar Jackson, but you get my point. Like,
you are.
Yeah. You get my point, though. The Deshaun Watsons, the guys that can run as well, added in that extra element that the defense has to worry about at all times. And then Taysom Hill's a great point. And if you want to talk about Mike McCarthy, he cut Taysom Hill. So,
ouch. Okay, well, there's that.
Sorry. I'm still bitter about that.
Understand. Maybe McCarthy will draft Flacco to
There you
Dallas
go. There you
and
go.
right the wrong. The 2020 Tropical Bowl, again, can be viewed live on FloFootball and the Flo Sports app on Sunday. So watch JMU win a national title on Saturday. Watch Tom Flacco dominate the Tropical Bowl on Sunday. All right, my team lost by 1 million to LSU. And as part of that, I believe that I am in some way contractually obligated to acknowledge the national championship that they will not be playing in.
Okay.
It is on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
LSU will be there.
They will. Across the bayou.
Dude, in all reality, can we just take a step back and appreciate the Division I national championship games this year? Because you've got 1-2 on the FCS side, the dynasty against the only team that has really challenged that dynasty.
Yeah.
And then on the FBS side, you've got, I think a team that's going to go down as one of the greatest college football teams of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing the dynasty. So they're trying now to disrupt the Clemson thing that they've had going on. And you can't ask for anything better than that.
No, you in both FBS and FCS, you literally have the two best teams. And then with the FBS, with Clemson and LSU, you have number one scoring offense against number one scoring defense.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. You can't ask for anything better. And then it's in New Orleans. I mean, that place is going to be insane.
Rocking, dude.
Insane.
Clemson fans are in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, there's still be a lot of them, but
Oh, there'll be a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of them that'll go back to South Carolina, back to little old Clemson, and they're going to say LSU fans are insane.
they are crazy people.
I would just say, so a couple of things that I want to point out with this particular game. Joey Burrow has been so good that I think people are, you can't help it, but I think people are forgetting about Trevor Lawrence, who is at the end of arguably the best 2-year run, at minimum the best 2 first years run that we've ever seen from a college quarterback. He willed Clemson past Ohio State.
That was get on my back. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, over 100 yards rushing, which nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
So apparently now he's a dual threat. Or maybe he always was. I don't know.
This is the game, because Burrow can beat with his legs too. So we just have 2 dual threat quarterbacks that we all knew were dual threat quarterbacks
all the time, the whole time.
The whole time.
There's nothing that Joey Burrow can't do.
That's true.
You've always known that.
Yeah, I have.
I think with Trevor Lawrence, I just kept equating him to Sunshine from Remember the Titans, and as you recall, they couldn't run their triple option quite as effectively with Sunshine.
Can't make that pitch, coach.
Can't make that pitch. But Trevor Lawrence apparently can make that pitch.
He can make that
So I
pitch.
need to adjust the way that I view him. LSU looked fine on defense against Oklahoma, but playing Jalen and playing Trevor is
Big
2
difference.
very different things. I think Lawrence might have a little something for the Tigers.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And the closer we get to this game, the more I think it's just going to be like a Big 12 shootout.
You think?
I'm coming around to that. I didn't at first. I'm kind of coming around to, and I know Chase On for LSU has been playing awesome, and so is that Tiger secondary, and they get Michael Divinity back, who's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see this just being an all-out slugfest, like a 49-47 type thing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
And I kind of hope it is, because that would be a lot of fun. Just Burrow and Lawrence trading punches.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I'm here for it. That would be great. I think it's interesting. They have they're both so supremely confident, and rightfully so, but it's a different type of confidence. You have Clemson, who's got this quiet calm about them, and you've got LSU, who's just this like loud, just dripping swagger.
They have all the swagger in the world.
And it's like the confidence level is equivalent, but the confidence type is altogether different. So you have that contrasting style. You also pointed out the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense. I think I know that Brent Venables is going to be adjusting on the fly repeatedly throughout that game, which is going to put the onus on Brady and Ensminger to also make adjustments on their side. I think Thaddeus Moss is kind of the X factor. If I had to pick a guy, and I say that because the strength of having Venables as your DC, or among them, is his ability to adjust in game. But what Thaddeus Moss does to a defense and to a defensive coordinator is it makes it almost impossible for them to get the right grouping on the field at the right time. Because if you're looking at an offense and you're calling out personnel packages, and you call it 11 personnel because Thaddeus Moss is a tight end, or you're calling it 12 because Thaddeus Moss and another guy are out there at tight, that's fine. Except that Thaddeus Moss is not a traditional tight end, and LSU splits him out wide all the time. So if you're Clemson, and you're looking at the grouping on the field for LSU, and you're considering Thaddeus Moss to be a tight end, and they've got 2 out there, so you're going to go with a little heavier personnel, thinking you've got 12. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's 11. Maybe Thaddeus Moss is split out wide, and now you've got I guess it's arguable only because of Alabama, but LSU's wide receiver trio is unparalleled in my opinion. I love those 3 guys more than any other trio in the league, with all due respect to Judy and Ruggs and the other guy, Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Throw in Thaddeus Moss with that. Now you have the most electric wide receiver trio in the country, and Moss split out wide, and then Clemson sitting there in heavy. That's not a recipe for success, and that's going to be the trick.
For me, the X factor for LSU is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He played like 4 or 5 snaps against OU.
Mm-hmm.
It was
really need him.
I know, and that's the crazy part. And before the game, there were like LSU people that were like, "Let's just sit him and have him ready for New Orleans." And the fact that they were like,
all the respect
in a playoff
for
game, right? That's what I'm saying. And you even like were saying this leading up to the game. The LSU players were so disrespectful to Oklahoma.
I've never seen anything like it.
And it had me convinced that I was like telling coworkers that just wanted to bet on the game, like Oklahoma plus 13.5, because like they are being so disrespected. And then it turns out LSU was just like kind of just being honest about them and just like not having a filter.
Yep.
But you don't see that very often.
No, that's
and when
why
you do see it, it usually backfires.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why coaches put a lid on their teams the way that they do. But Coach Owen, that kind of a coach, and this isn't that kind of a team.
No.
Which is why, I said last time, I grew up hating LSU. I love this team.
Yep.
Because I love the way Coach O handles his team, and I love the way they respond, and I love their demeanor. I'm a bit of a talker by nature. I was definitely 400 years ago when I was back in my day. I did a lot of talking. So I love teams that talk. I love teams that have that kind of brash personality about them, and LSU, they're absolutely that.
And so Edwards-Helaire plays like 5 plays and I think he only got like 1 carry. Most of the time he was in as a distraction.
Mm-hmm. That's why they were so effective.
Yeah, for sure.
They were really distracted. OU was really distracted by Clyde.
Well, 1,300 rushing yards on the year, but I remember in the Alabama game, he absolutely destroyed them in the receiving game, whether it was screens to him or the secondary actually did a good job and Burrow was just like, here, check down, and then he turned a 5-yard gain into 15 or 20. And I can see Venables taking away Jefferson and Chase and Moss and Mitchell. Oh, and here's Edwards-Helaire right down. Oh, that's 25. Oh, that's 30. Oh, over the top to Marshall or Jefferson or
you're just throwing out. You haven't said the same name twice.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They have like 3,000-yard receivers.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. They're stupid.
And they have 3 receivers. Jefferson, Chase, and Marshall all have over 10 touchdowns.
I mean, they're just Burrow's just taking his pick.
Yeah.
I do want to I'm almost done here. Last thing I want to mention. I took some heat for here's the problem. We cut the last episode out in segments, and we put them up as standalone pieces throughout Christmas week, right? And one of the things that we put out there was me explaining how Oklahoma could potentially pull the upset. That was early in the show. Later in the show, at the end of the show, I explained that was not going to happen.
Yeah, you actually
and that LSU was going to freaking roll.
You had the number. They were your most confident pick.
Yes,
of
they
bowl
were.
season.
Yes, they were. So I'm irritated that the naysayers out there on YouTube did not watch the entire episode. They are not true fans. They just watched the early part and they called it a day. And then they told me I was wrong. I was not wrong. And I don't know. I'm talking to them now because they're probably not watching right now either because they didn't hang in there for that long. So why would they hang in there now?
Haters and losers.
Haters and losers, all of them. I was right the whole time. I just had to make sure I repeated that, put that back on record. If you're Clemson, the last thing in the whole world that you want to happen is for LSU to do what they've done to everybody all year long, and that's start fast.
Yep.
Because if they start fast, I'm not breaking any news here. The Superdome is going to be a freaking zoo. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be not a fun time at all. You're not going to be able to hear anything. I hope Clemson plans on going silent count the entire game because they're not going to be able to hear a thing. It's basically a road game.
Yeah. No, it is. It 100% is. For Clemson, in my opinion, the key is you got to get the run game going with ETN. He's averaging 7 yards a carry right now, which I think if he can maintain that average, I think that's the highest average rush yard per attempt, like up to us. You have to have a minimum amount, but I think that would be the highest in college football history.
Well, for the 90 seconds that Oklahoma was competitive, they were doing it on the ground. Mm-hmm. Like before they fell behind by 3 scores, which felt like it happened in about a blink.
Yeah.
There was a moment in the first quarter when they were kind of back and forth, and it was the Oklahoma running game that was effective.
Obviously, the LSU performance in the second half against Ole Miss kind of gets beaten into the ground at this point because it pretty clearly was an outlier based on the rest of the season. But there's your blueprint, I guess. And that actually used a lot of the quarterback run game with John Reese Plumlee. Now, LSU is going to be much more prepared for Lawrence running the ball than I think Ohio State was, obviously.
Well, yeah. Ohio State watched Remember the Titans. Yeah. They didn't think he could make the pitch.
Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a football game since 2017.
I'm surprised that he's ever lost a game in his life.
I actually read a piece that talked with a couple of the players that were on the high school team that beat him. It was pretty insane and they were supposed to win. They got upset.
I would just introduce myself that way for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I walk in, first day on the job, hello, my name, we beat Trevor Lawrence. All right. Prediction, you kind of already said it, 49-40,
yeah, 49,
whatever.
47.
I think 35 wins it.
Go Tigers.
I guess we'll see.
Go Bayou Bengals. I have to specify because Dab was trying to do the Go Tigers thing too, and that Go Tigers.
All right, well.
It's Coach O's thing. Get your own stick.
We will fight to the death for Coach O on this show.
We will.
Coach O has got so many shows
he needs
that back
to stick,
him up.
like Dabo has his thing. It's like, the all in and bring your own guts and all that stuff.
Bring your own guts.
Yeah. Do that. That's your thing. Not Go Tigers.
All right, well. I guess we're left without anything else to talk about.
What's your final score? I don't think you gave one.
35 wins it, I think.
Okay, 35 wins it for...
For whoever. First one at 35.
Put your name on a pick.
LSU 38, okay. Clemson 34.
There we go.
There it is. I'm going to keep saying unless we end the show. And I was trying to count the time. Everybody has a crutch. Small rant here before we end this. I was listening to a thing the other day. Everybody that is on camera, or I don't know, maybe on a microphone in general, they have a crutch word.
Yeah.
And some people's crutch word is kind of a cool word, or like, with I think Chris Long says this, that, and a third, like 55 times in an hour. Mine is nowhere near that cool. I just say, it's not even a word, it's just a noise.
I'd say
And I know where I know exactly where I'm going next. I know exactly the next topic or the next point or whatever. But it's like I feel like I have to use that noise to transition from one line to the next line. I have to quit doing that. I have to make a list here of the number of times. In fact, have research and development go back and watch this show and count the number of times that I say or if I put the M on the end, it still counts. I want to be better in 2020.
We'll make Nomad do that.
Yeah, get Nomad on that. Yeah. My New Year's resolution is to say less.
I need one.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
My New Year's resolution is...
You're being very thoughtful about it.
I am. Yeah. Stop fat shaming.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to edit out multiple parts of the show because of you. The last thing that you could do as we embark on the year 2020 with 2020 vision and hindsight being 2020, you need to tell the people that what happened in 2019 remains the same in 2020. The key to running the bootleg is still
doing it naked. David Bray style.